When British soldiers broke into this African palace in 1897, they found something that would shatter everything Europe believed about Africa. Thousands of bronze sculptures so sophisticated, so intricate, that European scholars refused to believe Africans made them. What they discovered would rewrite history. Welcome to Historical Fact and Knowledge, where we uncover the stories they didn't teach you in school. Today, we are diving into the Benin Empire, a kingdom so advanced it had streetlights when London was drowning in darkness, a military so fierce it controlled modern-day Nigeria for 600 years, and art so masterful it still sits in European museums today. We reveal how this empire rose to power, the shocking technology they possessed, why Britain destroyed it, and the billion-dollar controversy that continues right now. The rise of an empire. Most people have never heard of the Benin Empire. And that's exactly what colonizers wanted. Founded around 1180 AD, the Benin Empire wasn't just another African kingdom, it was a superpower. Located in what is now southern Nigeria, Benin City became one of the largest cities in the world by the 1500s, rivaling any European capital. The Ober's Palace was a sprawling complex decorated with bronze plaques depicting the empire's history, basically a 3D history book covering every wall. But power wasn't just about pretty cities. The Benin military was legendary. They had a sophisticated structure, war strategies that confused European armies, and control over crucial trade routes. For 6 centuries, the Benin Empire dominated West Africa. So how did they build all this? That brings us to the secret that shocked Europe. The technology that shouldn't exist. Remember those bronze sculptures I mentioned? This is where things get controversial. The Benin people mastered bronze casting using the lost wax technique, a method so advanced that even Renaissance Europeans struggled with it. We are talking about sculptures with details so fine you can see individual hair strands, fabric textures, and facial expressions. But here's the problem for European scholars: according to their racist worldview, Africans were primitive. So when British troops looted thousands of these bronze plaques and ivory carvings in 1897, European museums faced a crisis. How could non-civilized Africans create art this sophisticated? The solution. Some scholars claim the Portuguese taught Africans bronze casting. Others suggested a lost white civilization must have created them. One British museum official even argued that Benin art showed Egyptian influence, anything to avoid admitting black Africans were master metallurgists. But the evidence was undeniable. Carbon dating proved these bronzes were made centuries before significant European contact. The craftsmanship was entirely unique, distinctly African, distinctly Benin. The empire had developed this technology independently, trading with Portuguese and Dutch merchants as equals, not students. Beyond bronze, Benin had sophisticated governance systems, documented history through their plaques, practiced advanced medicine, and maintained diplomatic relationships across continents. The Ober's court had a hierarchy more complex than most European royal systems. This wasn't just a kingdom. This was a civilization that Europe couldn't comprehend, so they decided to destroy it. And that brings us to one of history's most shameful chapters. The brutal fall. By the 1890s, Britain had a problem. The Benin Empire controlled trade routes Britain desperately wanted. The Ober refused to be a puppet. So Britain did what empires do, they manufactured a reason for war. In January 1897, a British delegation traveled to Benin during a sacred religious ceremony when foreigners were forbidden to enter. They were warned. They came anyway. The Ober's chiefs, fearing invasion, attacked the party, killing several British officials. Britain's response was genocidal. They called it the punitive expedition, but it was really a massacre with a goal: total destruction. In February 1897, over 1,200 British troops invaded Benin City. They burned everything. Homes, palaces, temples, gone. They killed thousands of civilians. And then they looted. British soldiers stole over 10,000 bronze plaques, sculptures, and ivory carvings, basically the entire artistic and historical record of the empire. These weren't spoils of war, this was cultural genocide. They erased Benin's history and sold it to museums across Europe and America. The Oba was exiled. The empire was absorbed into British Nigeria. And for decades, the world forgot the Benin Empire existed. But here's where the story takes a modern twist, because those stolen artifacts are now worth billions, and a global fight is brewing over who they belong to. The billion-dollar controversy. Walk into the British Museum today, and you'll see room after room of Benin Bronzes. Over 900 pieces, never returned. Germany has over 1,100. Museums across Europe and America hold thousands more. For decades, these institutions refused to return them, claiming they were protecting the artifact or that they belonged to all humanity. But the tide is turning. Nigeria has been demanding the return of the Benin Bronzes since independence in 1960. For years, they were ignored. But in 2021, Germany announced it would return over 1,000 pieces. France returned 26. The Smithsonian returned 29. Even the British Museum, notorious for never returning anything, is negotiating. Why now? Public pressure. Social media has exposed the hypocrisy. How can museums claim to value history while displaying stolen property? How can they lecture about ethics while profiting from colonial violence? Nigeria is building a new museum in Benin City specifically to house the returned artifacts. It's called the Edo Museum of West African Art, and it's designed to world-class standards, proving once again that Africans don't need European protection for their own heritage. But thousands of pieces remain locked in Western museums. The British Museum still hasn't committed to full repatriation. Private collectors hold countless artifacts bought from the original 1897 looting. The Benin Bronzes aren't just art. They're evidence of a sophisticated civilization that Europe tried to erase. Every piece still in Western museums is a reminder of colonial violence, and every piece returned is a step toward justice. The story of Benin is a story of brilliance, betrayal, and an empire that refuses to be forgotten. The Benin Empire shocked Europe because it destroyed their narrative about Africa. It proved that African civilizations were building advanced societies while Europe was still in the Dark Ages. And that truth is still shocking people today. If this video opened your eyes to history you've never heard before, smash that like button. It tells YouTube to show this to more people who need to see it. Drop a comment with the most shocking fact you learned today. And subscribe to Historical Fact and Knowledge, because next week we are uncovering another empire they erased from your textbooks, the Mali Empire, and the richest person who ever lived. The truth is out there. We just have to be willing to see it.